we've shifted location for this one today because Robbo's working.
Yeah.
And he just said, lads.
Yeah. One of us has got to do it for half an hour every couple of weeks.
Turning the handle like this, getting the stuff on.
We've started doing stuff for the Mirror, actually. I don't know if everyone's noticed. The Mirror very kindly asked us to do a column every Monday for the websites, which is a kind of a reflection on the game, really, a bit of a kind of Monday, what do you think of the match of the weekend? So Robbo's the most tabloid of all of us, so he's doing it. So he's working on that now. But the glorious upshot of this, not just being in the Daily Mirror for us, which is quite nice, is that Ben Jono's now the Monday columnist. And if you haven't checked out his Monday column yet, then what are you doing with your life?
Exactly, yeah, you're making a series of profound errors. So Rob was in the middle of editing that, and trust me, that's no easy task. Just to make it make sense to more than 6 people. It's not that it's grammatically incorrect, but it's absolutely, of which 2 of them are me and John.
Yeah, his jokes are his own.
Very much his own. It's fantastic stuff. We love it to pieces. We're made up that we've got it.
It's also transfer deadline day.
Oh, aye?
Yeah.
Have we bought anyone yet?
We haven't.
Have we got to buy anyone, John?
James Pearce says it's going to be a quiet day for LFC. His words, not mine. He says we're not pursuing this Dennis Cheryshev that we seem to get linked with every window.
That's amazing.
He doesn't play for anyone. It shouldn't be a hard deal to do.
He feels like a regen in a football game. The name feels like a regen. The fact that he appears to have no fixed position whenever you look into him. He plays somewhere on the left, mate.
Yeah. He's an old-fashioned winger in a world that doesn't have them.
In a crazy mixed-up modern world.
He's there. Something's happened. Yeah, he's the fella in work, and they've got a new computer, and no one needs him anymore. That's him. And he's just looking around, going, "Someone was like a winger who gets up and down."
Yeah.
You know, play like Stanley Matthews. No one gives a shit.
The Dennis Cheryshev final.
That's what they might call it. We've got a month. So it's not looking like that's going to happen. Yeah, it's a funny one really with the Teixeira one, and people are having a bit of a moan today, and I find it funny that there seems to be an expectation now that if Liverpool don't do every deal that they try, then someone's failed. And I think it's funny because I don't think that's happening in any club. I know we're on our own backs because we monitor our own football clubs and stuff like that. Bob was just laughing because he's editing Ben Jono's piece. I think it's a strange one though, isn't it? Because like if you looked into Man United are awful at doing deals all of a sudden really, and you say what you want about our summer transfer window, but everyone we went for we got. And I think there's always going to be a case of, especially when you're dealing with Ukrainian billionaires, there's always going to be one where, you try and it doesn't happen. And I think we've got to be, as fans, we've got to be a bit more philosophical about it.
And that's fair. I think it's really fair. I think it is back to the idea of Ukrainian billionaires, so on and so forth. But then, there's 3 people can leak any story about Liverpool chasing Alex Teixeira, Liverpool people connected to Alex Teixeira, and Shakhtar, and it does feel like this one's not come from Liverpool particularly. It does seem like this one's come from Shakhtar and Alex Teixeira openly doing interviews with people saying love to play for Liverpool every match, sort of has not helped, because then you feel as though if there's just an aggression and a willingness to get something done, then it could just get done. But I don't know, I think the whole thing, I think the other issue, and this comes back to the sign of Benteke, is that there doesn't seem to be a great deal of options. Like in terms of strikers, there's just not, I keep saying it about last summer, United only buy Martial last day of the window, and everyone agrees they've overpaid for him, and that's beginning to look more and more the case that he could kick on and show fulfill his massive potential. Everton didn't buy anyone, Arsenal didn't buy a striker, Chelsea didn't buy a striker, Man City didn't buy a striker, Spurs didn't buy a striker. They got Son Heung-min, who plays more off the front, again, very late in that window. And it's a really strange situation where there is this, most of the absolute top strikers are at the absolute top clubs. It's like it's all just sorted itself out, and that just means there's not the churn, and you're going to end up having to go to places like Ukraine and getting this stuff boxed, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. And in the back of the Shakhtar's mind is, well, if we hang on till the summer, no one else has got a lad who can do this, so we'll just hang on. And
also we can play for them for a bit longer, and they've got the longer transfer window to sort the things out as well. So yeah, I think this idea of just or pay what they want or don't bother is, sometimes you've got to try and negotiate, and if you can't get it for the number you want, then you can't. I just think it'd be funny if we have a quiet day today, because something will happen today at another club, or someone will go somewhere, and Liverpool fans will be like, we should have got him.
Well, Berahino's the obvious one, because he's got pace and he can clearly finish, and I think that
it's not a huge amount of money anymore, is it?
Comparatively not.
Yeah, considering what he would have gone for in the summer, I expect it'll be less.
So I think that I can understand why people might say, why didn't we go for Berahino? My thing on this is that I'd rather hang on and get 2 absolute belters, and if one of them's Teixeira, I just think we need 2 belters in attack. I think it would just change everything. It would change so much of what we're about if we got 2 absolute stunning forwards, and it might be that the club doesn't feel that Berahino's one. Where I'll get annoyed in the summer is, as I say, if I'm sitting there and we're trying to do 7 or 8 deals and not just sort of focusing on three core ones, if you know what I mean. I mean, you know, the Grujic's of the world are great, and you've got to keep going for them. You don't, there's not the luxury. I think that people often say stop that, but you can't have that luxury as a football team. You've got to keep trying to move forward and plan for this sort of stuff. But what I mean is, you know, I don't want 20 million quid on a Markovic, say, when you could go 40 million on insert name of huge player here, rather than split it all up and all that sort of thing. And that's the challenge, I think, for the club, is to show the right type of restraint in the transfer market come the summer, and to just do smart, aggressive, targeted business and not try to reinvent the wheel.
And to persuade £40 million players to come to you when we're not in the Champions League.
Yeah,
the challenges there.
But Jurgen Klopp's our manager and he's great and he loves a cuddle, and I think that in and of itself should count for something.
That's your sell. I mean, we're talking about other clubs doing stuff. I mean, it looks like Everton are going to spend £13 million on a striker, which if he turns out to be any good, there's going to be absolute murder, but you know, we'll just see.
Well, the thing is, he's going to score some goals, because he'd have to be absolutely dreadful not to, and then you'll be saying, well, we could have done this and we could have done this. I think it's more the idea of there's problems in the Liverpool squads that as I say, I think you make 3 signings and you get 2 of those 3 right, and everything doesn't look great, but everything improves markedly and does so in sort of it buys you 2 or 3 years sense. And I think I keep going, you know, you look at the Sturridge Coutinho window, where Sturridge and Coutinho, you know, we just need one window like that, which is quite focused, which is, you know, 2 or 3 players, but it's the right 2 or 3 players. And I'm not worried about the money, it's not about the money, but it's the idea of just getting those 2 or 3 players that you're able to look at and go, right, that should be, Sturridge is now an exception to this, but that should sort of box bits of this off for this period of time. And I think given the age of our squad and the profile of our squad, if we get the right 2 or 3, then we'll have that. Yeah. And then you can build on that, and then you can start to take your odd gambles and do your Ferguson things where you get some lads in 3.5 million because he might be worth a go, because you've got a core of players that you're able to look at mostly through the side and feel as though we're going to be alright because we've got these lads. I mean, arguably the worst window of the last 5 years could well be the one where that precedes the 13-14 season, not because we actually had the room there to take a couple of gambles because of the quality we had, and I know that we weren't all on board with how good everyone was, but we could actually have gone a bit mad. Do you know what I mean? We could almost have gone left field because we had Suarez and Sturridge and Sterling was going to come through. And it's dead easy to say with hindsight, but you need people to have the wisdom. That means that you don't need hindsight.
No, yeah. I mean, I say it's going to be quiet, but there's a story just come out from Matt Hughes saying Jerome Sinclair, we've rejected 1.5 million rises to 3 million from Watford. He seems to think that we want to use him as a make weight in deals, which seems like you're overcomplicating things when you've only got till midnight. It seems like a bit of a strange one to me.
It's like a day.
Yeah. And like I saw a tweet from Kieran Morris saying, are we trying to send Jerome Sinclair to Donetsk? Which, you know, I mean, you're going to have to do some Mr. T stuff on him, aren't you? You're going to drug him and put him on the plane, because I'm not sure he fancies it.
Absolutely not. That's unreal.
Not many lads bouncing around Donetsk with that haircut. So, I don't know, we'll see on that, but maybe something happened with Jerome Sinclair, we'll see. Okay, we'll leave it there. That threatened to be interesting, that, didn't it?
It did threaten to become some sort of football. Let us know the sort of business you'd like Liverpool to do, either today or in the transfer markets in the summer. We've got our views, we always like to hear yours. You can do that on the Facebook page underneath, and I'll love to our friend Steve.